Welcome everyone, we've got great news.
We now have breaking news.
The wait has finally come to an end for housing during COVID-19. On Thursday night, August 26th is when the U.S. Supreme Court ended the federal moratorium on residential evictions. This is incredible and frankly kind of hard to believe with how many extensions we've gone through during the pandemic. But on Thursday, in a 6-3 ruling, a majority of the justices agreed that the stay on the lower court's order finding the CDC's eviction moratorium to be unlawful and was no longer justified. This is great news, and the Supreme Court's decision here is a correct one from both the legal standpoint and a matter of fairness. This ends the unlawful policy that places financial hardship solely on the shoulders of mom and pop housing providers who provide nearly half of all rental housing in America, and it restores property rights in America. The expiration of the federal eviction moratorium is an important catalyst to returning renters to a normal payment schedule, and thus providing stability to the housing providers who've been damaged by revenue losses, who may have been struggling to pay their mortgages, financial property operations, and just basically meeting their own financial obligations when being a landlord and providing housing to millions of Americans. We'll have to wait and see if this holds and no new legislations develop from the strike down. The end of this eviction moratorium is good for both landlords and tenants. Now let me further explain. So the eviction moratorium for the last year and a half or so has been running our business on how we can properly handle tenant collections, posting notices, basically strapping landlords on how things need to operate, and letting tenants that may not be able to pay rent or not having the rental payments just live in your property without being able to do anything. For example, I recently purchased a property where the tenants had been living in the home for about 10 years prior to my purchase. And when the tenants got served their 60-day notice of non-renewal, because I had planned on doing some renovations in on their unit, they decided they just weren't gonna pay rent. I couldn't serve my 3-day notice to pay rent and vacate. I had to serve a 30-day notice to pay or vacate with additional information on assistance, which is great and all. But at the end of the day, they didn't pay the last 2 months of rent. I couldn't remove them from the property. I couldn't evict due to this eviction moratorium. And this is going to be a benefit now that this moratorium has been struck down for the tenants out there. The longer that you're residing in these properties, the more back rent you are accruing and the more debt you will be in. And I hate to say that in this manner because I do love tenants, but really think about it. This back rent and past due balance is not going anywhere. This is gonna be your chance to get a fresh start, work with your landlord, have an open line of communication where you're able to kind of discuss your options. It's been hard throughout this year and a half, but there's no such thing as a free lunch. And I'm sure there's many landlords out there that have had tenants living in their property rent-free. This is great news, and fingers crossed we continue down this positive path. Thanks for tuning in today to Jobin Real Estate. Until next time, cheers.